everybody, FutureLAND. My name is Alicia Ellis. I'm one of the co-founders of FutureLAND and also the Executive Director of Education. I'm super excited to present this fireside chat to you all this afternoon. Like I mentioned earlier, we are only taking Q&A live through Hoover app. Okay? So we hope that you download that and add your questions to the Hoover app. With that being said, I have the honor of introducing the mayor and Rich Paul. They may not know this, but we share a special story. Okay? In 2016, we shared the stage at the Wolfstein Center, me and Rich, when you got your MBA. Who else is Cleveland State Vikes? Okay? That day, you didn't just inspire my life, but I had friends and families that were inspired by your story. So do you remember the song that was playing? Yeah. Can you stand the rain? Yep. So for every inner city kid growing up in this city and across America, Can You Stand the Rain resonates with all of us. So as we share that story and I made my wish list for FutureLAND and that call went out, you were on my top of my list. So I appreciate you accepting the call and the challenge to be here at FutureLAND in the first conference. So let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you.
With that being said, I would like to introduce our mayor, Justin Bibb.
Welcome back home, man. How's it feel?
It's great. It always feels good to come back home.
That's right.
I don't get here enough. That's the problem.
You gotta just move back full time, man.
That might be impossible.
That's what we gotta do. That's what we gotta do.
But I try to get back as much as I can. I be in and out, but you know, obviously with Darius here, I am back. But my brother and sister, my family's still here, so. But it's just tough. Yeah. You know, LA, that's a long flight.
Well, I gotta say, we can work on that. We can work on that.
Going back and forth.
I gotta say, the whole city of Cleveland is just so proud of what you've done in your career. You've been an amazing role model to a lot of young people who want to get in the field of sports and business. And one of the things I love to kick off this conversation asking you is, you know, think about your rise from St. Clair.
Oh yeah.
What you learned selling jerseys in the back of your car, being at Benedictine High School. What are the three things you've learned from being born and raised in Cleveland that's helped you in your role now as CEO of Klutch Sports?
Well, I mean, just three? It's like 300. But no, you know, just first and foremost, I always find it of importance to make sure I carry home with me around the world, like everywhere I go, because there's something special about this place, you know. Regardless of what side you grew up on, I said this all the time, I really felt like when I was growing up, whether I was down the way, up the way, across the town, you know, it didn't matter where it was at. There was what I would say a force field. You know, people really cared about my well-being and protection, and whether I was playing muni football or even currently today, I see people all the time, and it's always all love. But I think the first thing is just probably a resilience, because, you know, we grow up with very little options, right? We don't have the things accessible that some of the bigger cities have. So the only vision you have is through that dream, right? Or through the television per se. And so that was probably the biggest thing for me. Like everywhere I went, every room I'm in, even these boardrooms I'm in today, is I let them know where I'm from. And my numbers still begin with 216, so they know that.
There we go.
And then I think that, you know, it's just a undeniable work ethic. My dad was a small business owner that didn't really celebrate holidays and things like that. So I had an unbelievable example in addition to others throughout the community. And then, you know, it's just always been, for me, just to continue to have that vision, you know, to continue to dream bigger than what that environment I was in. You know, a lot of times we confine to a 8-block radius. And so I always kind of, you know, my sister here today, she used to teach me how to dress, but I'm thinking I'm on stage, you know, I'm on Edmonton and 125th Street, but it was like a different world for me. So I always had that vision to kind of dream further, but it's a number of things, man. I can't limit it. It shaped me, everything I've been through, schooling, environment, just friends over time, playing sports throughout the rec centers and things like that, people I've met, teachers, and it's all been a journey. You see some things you probably shouldn't see at a young age growing up. You have to learn what not to do in these environments. But at the same time, I think that's what molds you as well. And so I don't think I could be the person I am today if I didn't go through that journey. I really don't.
That's right. I think we all recognize in this room that life is about choices, right? And you can make one choice that takes you on a whole completely different path. And for me, when my hoop dreams are deferred real quick.
Mine too. You're not alone.
I remember my mom saying, look, bro, you ain't the next damn LeBron James. Better get in these books, figure out what you want to do with your life. And I started volunteering on campaigns. And I realized, maybe politics is the way. For you, what was that one defining moment, that one choice that you think has propelled you to where you are right now?
And you keep limiting these 1 and 3s. It's like it's a lot. I've had, again, my dad owned a store, and my dad used to make sure I understood that despite the position someone is in today, don't underestimate their experience, because their experience could be of value to you. Yeah. And so he used to tell me that at a very young age. You walk outside, people drunk and things, but they haven't always been that way. That person used to be somebody. And so I think just instilling that respect in people regardless allowed me to then get to know people, right? There was used to be a man working for my dad named Slim. His job was to walk me to the bus stop when it was, in the winter when it's dusk, when it's dark. My bus was at like 7:30, 7:45, the bus on the west side. And although he was paid in wine, he still had an experience. So we used to talk, and I'm 12, 13, and we're having these grown-up conversations. I learned a lot from him. He had nothing to offer me, per se, but he did, In addition to, I would say, you talk about your dad, your mom had a conversation with you. My dad had a conversation with me my freshman year at Benedictine, just to help me understand that my hoop dreams probably wasn't going to come true, and I needed to decide what I wanted to do. But in addition to that, I think life is all about managing the transitions, right? And I think that your vehicle of life, right? A vehicle has a transmission for a reason. You got to know when to stay in park, when to go in reverse, when to stay neutral, and when to accelerate. And I think that's success in a nutshell, right? Understanding that idle, understanding that acceleration. Okay, I need to take a couple steps back. There's nothing wrong with that. And sometimes I just need to sit my ass down, And I think that ultimately I live by that, and never being complacent. I didn't get here, because in anything in life, if you get complacent and get content with being a part of, then it could stunt your growth. So for me, if I was just complacent with being around, then now, if I'm cool with being in the section, then, it's like all those different things that I had to really dissect and digest, and then decide where I want to go from here. And so my mind, since I was a kid, my mind never stopped racing. I'm pretty much an entrepreneur by birth.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, I realized very early on, it really makes no sense for me to be the only one that's successful.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So a lot of times we often think about my bag and getting the bag and my bag. Well, I think about giving the bag, I want to be the check cutter instead of receiving the check.
That's right. That's right.
And so the only way to do that is to build something. And so I was able to build something that, I don't care if you have a felony, I don't care what your background may be, how can we help you? How can we help you get in position to do better, but you have to want that too. And you have to lean in and embrace and actually have the capabilities, because I can't put you on, right? I can give you an opportunity if you have the capabilities, but I can't put you on. You know, and oftentimes our kids are so embedded in that put me on mentality, and it's false, you know. And so I try to stop that. And you know, we have an unbelievable culture. You know, I think we up to, I don't know, I started with 2 employees. I think we up to 65 now and 170 clients. So it's been we're young.
Yeah.
But one of my coolest moments was hiring my friends.
I love that.
You know, 20 years, 30 years, known guys. Their kids interning, things like that.
Because that's how they do it.
Oh,
that's
of
how white
course,
people do it,
yeah,
right?
yeah. But again, you know, I'm in that world, right?
Yeah.
I've been blessed to be in those boardrooms. I was in a board meeting yesterday from 8 to 3. It was
Tri-City Council.
But
You want to trade?
I got your back. I don't want to trade. I'm gonna support you though. But no, it's you know, just I think just that education piece and getting to our kids at an earlier age is something that I'm pretty focused on. But I just try to be that example.
I love this mindset shift and culture shift you're talking about. And if there's one word that I would describe you for, I love the one word thing, by the way. Rich, I think you're really a disruptor in every sense of the word. And you think about what you did in the business of being a sports agent, where prior to you, you had to have a BA to be a certified agent.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Right?
That's not true.
That's what they
want us to believe. Okay.
Exactly.
Right.
And so you think about the way that you disrupted the entire system of sports agency. Walk us through those early moments in terms of the racism, the discrimination, maybe the fear you may have had of making that leap. What was going on in your head?
Yeah, well, I think it started from, again, not putting the focus on finance. Right. So once I couldn't be bought, it was a thing, because I had the conversation with everybody, and I told them this wasn't about money. This was about changing the industry in which I felt like was not looking at the young men, today young men and women, but then not looking at them as individuals. They were just looking at them as assets. And you and I both know, playing a sport, whether you're playing football, is very volatile, high risk. Basketball, you know, obviously a little less risky, but you can't play it forever. So a lot of times these guys have to make their most important decisions at the earliest age. There's very few people in this room that had to make their most important decisions at 20 years of age. At 20 years of age, we were in the millennium, we're in top of the flats, you know what I'm saying?
Hanging out, getting funnel cakes.
We had the 5 bar, there was no our most important decision, what we wearing tonight. You know, It was not that type of thing. These kids are I have kids 22, they're not kids, I have young men 22 years of age with $200 million in guaranteed it's coming.
Yeah.
You know, and so how do you help them understand infrastructure? How do you help them understand, how to navigate throughout the family dynamic? How do you help them understand diversifying their portfolio and thinking about owning early, right? Because they put all this focus on the marketing and things like that, but that comes with ego. And I tell them, you can't just, look, we ate Cheetos and a Chili Willy. You can get really full off of that, right? Or you can have, a piece of chicken and mashed potatoes and, broccoli or whatever, and be full off of that. You're full, right? 2 different fulls, though. So that candy full is you eating your ego, right? And continuing to eat that. You feel good, you feel full, but your stomach is gonna probably hurt a little bit as you continue on down that path, right? Because that's when the money starts dwindling and all I know is ego. But what I would say is my presence don't have the same value as it once did because the talent has been lessened, right? And so while we continue to allow them to feed off of that, the education piece came from helping them understand the business around the game that they're in, right? Character, professionalism, being on time, realizing that just because you pay someone don't mean that you can treat them any type of way, right?
You don't own them. Yeah.
No, but it's just a thing, right? And so I would have them come and live with me for 2 weeks prior to going into training, and just like Granny used to do me, walk behind them and why you leave that toilet seat up or why you got toothpaste on my, because I'm educating them from the basis.
Yeah.
Because they got to get their own house, own apartment, and things like that. And then get into the finance conversation. I would always tell them, you're going to be in rooms that your money can't get you in.
That's right.
Right? So quit focusing on that. And a lot of times they teach us, if I walk in a room and see you, why are you here? That shouldn't be the mentality.
Crabs in a barrel.
It should be, I walk in the room, I see you, how can we get 10 more of us in here? Right?
That's right. That's right.
And so that's always been, and so when you talk about disruptive, and you talk about the wow factor, as much as it is disruptive, right? But it shouldn't be a wow factor. We shouldn't be the first ones to not envy each other and to not kick each other's back out and to support each other, even if you're not involved. Even if there's nothing in it for me, I'm still rooting for you. That should be the mentality. That's how we got here, right? And so for me, it's about that aspect of it because you have to think, today, I'm not thinking from a place of finance, right? I'm thinking from a place of building and then a multiple, right?
A multiplier effect,
Yeah. I don't want $1 million.
Like
I want a
time value of
10x,
money. Exactly.
15x evaluation on something that I built or something that we built. And whether I own 100% or 2% of that, if I own 100% it's worth nothing, I got nothing, right? And so everyone want to say, I did this on my own. No, it's impossible, right? But if you own 2% of something that's worth $2 billion, you got a whole lot. And so that's the mentality that we have to start thinking in. And it's easy for me to get up here and say that today because I've traveled the road and but I'm forthgiving with the information because ultimately you have to understand everybody's not meant to be extremely wealthy. But where's the wealth really lies? Don't lie and chase or key bank. It's in the mind.
Yeah.
The way you think, your mindset is the true wealth. Right? Because if I think a certain way, I can always position myself to stay in position. Okay? So the true wealth is having options of opportunity. If you got options of opportunity, if I got an option to have 5 different things that I can do, I'm pretty wealthy.
That's independence.
Some people have no option.
Yeah.
That's actually being broke, right? But we place it all in finance. It's not finance, it's positioning. So that's what I try to invest back into. I don't look at them as just athletes because they can only play that game as long as God allows them to play. I can do what I do as long as God allowed me to think with clarity, right?
Yeah.
Health. I don't got to run up and down no court, no field. I can crunch numbers all day long and languages and all type of things like that. And so I try to get them to think that way right away, and we've done extremely well. Our guys don't really buy into the marketing, and I gotta have I tell people all the time, and families in these meetings that I'm in, and I say, well, what's important to you? Because if it's notoriety, because growing up, people would rather have notoriety than money.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? And so I used to trip off of that when I was young. I'm like, wait a minute. This man, I get the popularity, but, I just bought you a number 6 with cheese. Like, what? I mean,
what about me?
Yeah. I get all that, but what we doing? And so I talk to parents, I say, here's what we're gonna do so we don't have to focus on that. We're gonna invest, we're gonna buy a billboard, we're gonna buy one towards the airport, so when your family land, they see your face. We're gonna buy one close to your house or your exit, so when, And so
I'm taking notes on that one, by the way.
yeah, and so we're gonna put one downtown by where you play. So therefore, we don't have to focus on that. We can focus on what actually matters. Let's get that out of our system, right? And I don't not allow them to be them. They're gonna buy the chains and buy the car. You gotta grow out. I did it, right? I was making $48,000. I had 6 cars. You know what I'm saying?
What kind of credit you got, man? Damn.
Hey, whatever it was, it worked, right? But you learn.
Yeah,
You learn, and
yeah.
so I just try to, disruption was something I wanted to do, but it didn't come from a place of look what I did. It was coming from a place of I want to invest in the individual.
Yeah.
Because it's no sense of making the money if you're getting here with the same habits that you had.
Absolutely.
That don't make no sense.
See, I'm hearing a couple things from you, and I think these two things are the most important ingredients to the liberation of our people: ownership and wealth creation.
Yeah.
And what do you think is going to take to get us as a people to really adopt that mindset more in our habits, how we live, how we fellowship, how we build community? What's the missing link?
Patience. We grow up with the understanding of a flip. But when you get wealthy, it's not about a flip, it's about a compound. Right? And so, again, if you invest 50 grand into something, and that is, it may take you 5 years to see a return. We don't come from that. We come from a flip. If I give you 50 grand, I want 100 grand back, right? But that's not how it works in the real world. And so when you see these evaluations and you see these people making this money, et cetera, it came from an understanding of diversifying your portfolio and having patience, because it takes time, right? And so how many people can actually do that, though? And so it goes back to the mindset, though. It's not going to happen overnight, but I think we have to start thinking a certain way to even head in that direction. We're not trying to get to the destination tomorrow, but we have to turn. Which way is your car life facing? If my car life is, there's no Waze app to life, just so you know. You have to feel your way through, take the lumps and bumps, and learn from it, right? Because there's mistakes. A mistake is not a failure, it's an experience, right? Mm-hmm. A repeated mistake is a failure. Mm-hmm. That's something different. And so we got to turn that car around. At least, at the very minimum, we have to be going in the right direction, right? No matter how fast or slow you're traveling, just make sure that car is going in the right direction. That's first and foremost, I believe. Any
interest in your future in owning your own team?
No. I'll let LeBron own the team, because if he own it, I still own it.
I like the way you think. I
want to own salary caps. I don't want to own the team.
Yeah.
Now, look, at the end of the day, I don't know where the future is leading.
Yeah.
I like what I do today, and it's early, but I would have to take a pay cut to really own a team, to be honest with you.
Really?
And I'm not into taking pay cuts right now. But it's one of those things where, what do you own a team for? Most people buy teams, and does the team actually make money? Maybe, maybe not. But most people that buy a team and own a team, they don't need it to make money.
Yeah,
right.
It's an asset.
They make the money around it. Yeah. So whether you're buying up, redeveloping the city or things like that, it's the real reason to own the team. But I think we have a young core. I don't plan on going. They would want me to buy a team. They want me out for sure. but I don't want to own a team quite yet. And like I said, I have several friends today that's team owners. Yeah. several friends that's in line to buy teams. You know, it's a lot of young people with a lot of money today. But I just like to be the more of the advisory perspective, because once you own a team, you become restricted. You see, my friend Mike, a good friend of mine who bought Mitchell & Ness, and I'm part of the ownership group now. Mitchell & Ness, tell you about life going around full circle. From selling out the trunk of the car and being part of the ownership group is crazy. It's a blessing. But he was an owner. He was part owner of the 76ers, but he couldn't really do certain things due to restrictions of being an owner, and so he kind of sold his share, and now he's able to do certain things. So I don't think I want to lose my flexibility of entrepreneurial endeavors that I still. I'm not, because you know it's just the beginning, right?
Oh, I know.
Okay,
I know.
I know. I know if you thought it was
first
the
couple
end.
chapters.
Yeah.
First couple chapters.
Yeah.
You know, we were just joking around in the back about New Balance, and how back in the day when we were in elementary school, middle school, we would get bullied if you wore New Balances to.
They were
to
wrong
school.
for doing that.
I know.
By the way, I didn't
Messed
get
up.
bullied. It was just a certain thing.
Maybe it was just me. I don't know, brother. I don't know. But talk about your partnership with New Balance and how you think that's going to change the shoe game in the business.
Well, the partnership with New Balance came out of an idea I had for a young man just trying to do the best for him. He didn't want to go to college. He didn't want to go to the G League. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, shit, I got to figure this thing out, because he's going to the draft. And one of the most important parts of the draft is character evaluating. And so I'm saying to myself, how can I put this young man in a position in which teams could actually call somebody and say, what type of teammate is he? And so, I called New Balance. I said, hey, I got an idea. I want this young man to do an internship where he can actually learn a business that is pretty authentic to where he's going. Probably better than learning the obtuse triangle or whatever, right? Or a word problem for that matter. And so I was able to do that. They did $1 million internship, and then that transitioned into him having a partnership, an endorsement deal with them. And he went to work in Boston at the headquarters, and he worked out on the court before going to work, took lunch, took a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, whatever, worked out, went back to office, worked out after. And he did this all the way until it was time for him to go to the draft. And that was the beginning of NIL.
Wow.
That expedited the NIL process because he still got drafted in the first round. So that cemented the relationship with myself and New Balance. And then from there, I started to think about executives. And I started to think about executives looking cool, right? Because executives are starting to get younger and younger and younger. And so I said to myself, I have an idea to do a shoe for a CEO, where a CEO don't have to feel like he always have to be this like stuffy type of situation. You can still be, corporate but cool. And so they were like, "You out of your mind. This is ridiculous. Now you're getting out of control." So, but I was like, "No, I'm serious." And so sat on it for about 8 months. Nothing happened. And then Chris Davis, who, New Balance is a family-owned brand. Chris Davis, who runs the business, and his dad owns it, he called me back and was like, "Hey, we've been thinking about that idea, and I think we want to go through with it." And so, we started designing, and the creative came behind again. Being from Cleveland, we don't have Fifth Avenue, right? We got to go to New York to get that.
Not
we
yet.
don't have Rodeo, right? We had to go to LA to get that. So we always had to dream bigger than our environment. Mm-hmm. And so the creative came from that. And I wanted to add a little nostalgia to it because, just that whole retro type of feeling. And then obviously I wanted to do the apparel with it. And I wanted to all to be authentic and tell a story. And my kids was able to be in the commercial and things like that. And what I didn't know is that we would sell 10,000 pairs in 45 minutes.
Wow.
That I did not know.
Wow.
I didn't see that. I was just trying to do something cool for for the culture, and so now that's kind of led to a partnership, and I think 2 is going to be better than 1. I don't know if it'll be better because it's hard to beat the original.
Yeah.
It's a different creative, but I think it'll be, it'll be just as cool. And so I'm excited about that, and there's some other things that I can't talk about now in contract, but there's a lot of things that's happening for us that I think is going to disrupt industries, but more importantly, like I talked to you about, I need that land, man, so I can I get these service centers to provide jobs for people in my town,
Absolutely.
And so that's my goal.
What's up. That's what's up.
Yeah.
I love that. And I'm gonna ask you one more question before we open up to the crowd here.
Okay.
I saw you at the O State game with LeBron and the whole crew wearing a really dope Klutch t-shirt.
Yeah.
Talk about what those letters mean to you, your brand, as a leader and as an executive.
Yeah, so when I was riding down, when I first started the company in 2012, I was like, damn, what am I gonna name this company, right? And
What was your first original name?
Klutch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was the first draft name.
Yeah, that was the first draft.
Right.
And I was, from Eddie Road to the East 9th, it's a lot to think about. And so I was, I'm riding on the highway, and I'm like, damn, I'm on my way to casino, by the way. So I'm like, damn, what am I gonna name this company? And I thought about Klutch, and but it wasn't really hitting like that until I turned the C into a K.
That's interesting.
It wasn't really, because I was like, and it was just sounding like bland, like it needed some Old Bay or something on it a little bit. And so then when I turned it to a K, I was like, okay. And I was like, but it needs to be impactful, right? And so that's when I came up with knowledge, longevity, understanding, trust, commitment, and honesty. And I felt like you needed all those things to be Klutch in the sport, but also in the game of life, because that's the real game we playing, right? And so I envision meeting with parents and young men or women and saying, hey, you have to have knowledge of the game, you have to have knowledge in life, you have to have longevity in both, right? You have to have an understanding of everything and everything around you. We can't build trust in a 2-hour meeting.
That's right. Yeah.
That don't make sense, right? And so we have to build that trust over time. We have to commit, but we also have to communicate. Because for us, especially as young black men, that's one thing we don't do really well, is communicate. And it's okay to communicate to a place of vulnerability, but our environment teaches us not to be vulnerable. So it stunts our growth of being able to be emotional and fall in love and tell somebody how you truly feeling. And so you only want to, you go right into this defense mode when it could just be. And my son taught me a very valuable lesson one day. I was on a call, and I'm driving, I'm on the call, and he in the backseat doing something, and I'm on a very important call. And I'm like, Richie, I'm screaming at him, whatever. And if you know my son, so when I hang up the phone, I'm going off. And he's like, Dad, I'm like, what's up? He like, you don't have to yell. He like, I get it. You don't have to do that. And I felt this big. I really did, because he was like, he might have been.
He put you in your place, huh?
Yeah, and he might have been like 8 years old. He's like, we don't need that, And I'm like, you know what? You're right, And so that helped me. But no, just that committing and communicating, and then being honest with yourself and others. Like, we have to be honest with each other. We got to hold ourselves accountable. Continuing to work on self. There's nothing wrong with working on self, right? And investing in self. That's the ultimate investment you can make, is in yourself.
Absolutely.
And so I wanted to be meaningful, because I didn't come into it just about money. If it was just about money, I had the top guy. I didn't need to, we've been doing this for quite a while. But I wanted to build something that I felt like could be positioned firmly to represent culture and to represent and to be a place where young kids could aspire to work and actually fulfill that dream as well. Because we hire in that capacity. I think we have the most diverse agency
In the world.
existing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's probably 50-50 now, men and women.
That's great.
And our leadership is probably 50-50 as well, men and women.
Let's salute that, by the way. Let's salute that.
And so, you know, and so that's where it started, man. And that's truly been our pillars, our foundation, and we've been successful up to this point.
Yeah.
And, you know, hopefully, like I said, you know, the next 10 be even better than the first.
From Eddie Road to East Ninth. It sounds like a book at some point. Take some questions from the audience.
All right, thank you, Mayor Bibb. So we have several questions that came in via the app. This first one goes to Rich Paul. When it comes to mentorship, what advice would you have for someone who is looking for a mentor in the sports industry, and how do you best demonstrate the value you bring to the person that you would like to be your mentor?
Yeah, that's a very layered question. But I would do my best to answer it. I would say, when it comes to mentorship, again, as the mentor, you know, you have to be willing to give that time, because being a mentor is not a thing of 15 minutes and you out the door. That takes a real responsibility, mentoring somebody. And you want to mentor someone from a place of care, right? And commitment. And then for the mentee, I think just have clarity in what you really want to do. You don't have to have it all figured out, but if it's me, just give me a basis, right? Because in my business, I encourage people to not be complacent or not be content with being in one area. Like, learn the ecosystem of the business. That way you can be well-rounded, and despite where the business grows to, you always will have value if you do that.
Next question for Mayor Bibb. What are your goals for business, entrepreneurship, cultural arts, and tech awareness in relation to primary school education?
Thank you. Listen, if we don't educate our children in this city, we will not be successful and prosper long term. That's real. And for a long time, we have not centered education, particularly in cities like Cleveland, with the strengths and the interests of our students, right? We have baby Einsteins crawling our streets right now on Dove, Leonard Crave, Angeles, Lee Harvard, St. Clair, Eddie Road. But our schools aren't centered to support them. Yeah. And so what I'm trying to do, number one, I'm trying to have a better pipeline of black and brown teachers to teach our babies in Cleveland long term. I want to make sure they have curriculum that teaches them their history, both the pain, but also the prosperity of our history as well too. And this conference next year, we need to pack them with CMSD high school students and middle school students. Yeah. Right. And when they see us, they know that they can make a difference and be somebody too, and we got to keep being that example.
Can I add to that, Mayor? Yeah. I would like to be responsible for changing the curriculum as it pertains to our art program in school. Because as someone, I'm on the board of LACMA right now, and I'll take that back. I'm a progressive art collector. If I had known and been educated, I thought art class was a study hall. Or we played Tonk. But I didn't really understand the art class. And if I did, I definitely would have bought less cars and chains. I would have been buying more art today and understanding what I know now. And so I met with the superintendent of LA Unified School District. Yeah. And I would, since we're on the topic, I would like to do the same here, because we need to change that. because it's not a point of emphasis. We don't know. We really, really, really don't know. And like you said, there are definitely young, creative geniuses walking around this town.
Just wait
but
for the
more
opportunity.
importantly, we need to know the history and understand it wholeheartedly, because the art space is a space that you want to be in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Love that. Let's make it happen. All right, yeah.
Our next question can go to either. What are Cleveland's plans to, or how can Cleveland attract more entertainment and high-scale events to the area?
I want to get Rich's opinion on this because, you know, you've traveled the world, born and raised in Cleveland. You and I talked a lot about how do we get more high-end restaurants and amenities in the city and really attract more of a diverse culture and talent to our community. Kind of what's your point of view on what it'll take for us to do that from your lens?
Well, I think we have to, first of all, we have to put the structure in place, right? Put the plan down, find our targets, and then really build out that structure. It doesn't have to be complete in day one. I think you can kind of crawl before you walk there. I think Cleveland being this, you go to a lot of cities, it doesn't really have the structure that we have a big city structure, right? Mm-hmm. So how do we start doing little things? And we can, look, we can get on the phone with anybody, right? We can call Rapino at Live Nation. We can call anybody at any of the Universal music groups if it's about music. In addition to fashion, arts, whatever, it's just about sitting in a room and having a conversation about what exactly it is we want to do, and then what's our end goal? Yeah. And then how do we work backwards from there? Yeah. And you have, by the way, you have the support, and especially during the summertime, Cleveland's a beautiful city. I mean, we have botanical gardens, we have these big parks. We can do a lot of different things per se. So from a restaurant perspective, again, the restaurant business is a very difficult one, right? It's extremely difficult. I don't know if people really understand that. Mm-hmm. But I talked to you about it. What I would like to do is bring small, high-end, not price, but customer service-based restaurants to the city to help educate, you know, the person that's attending, because oftentimes you go into a restaurant and the person don't want to work on one end, this person don't know how to order correctly on the other end, and it's coming from a place of I'm spending my money, I should be able to talk to you any kind of way, and that's not true.
Doesn't work that way, yeah.
And then on the other end, it's like, hey, you know, if I'm working in a service business and I see Justin come in, hey, Mayor Bibb, how you doing? How's your family? How was your day? Blah, blah, blah. Because I'm thinking about my tip, you know? And I know if I make you feel good, and did you try this? Did you? Like, it's a thing. It's a gamesmanship within it all. And so I just think that the more we can have examples of that, mm-hmm. the consumer, you start to shape the mindset of the consumer anyway. Absolutely. And so again, it's just starting small, but we can do it.
Yeah. And one thing I'm really excited about, we did a study at City Hall. We found out that the city is the largest property owner on the east side. We own 70,000 parcels of land.
I know.
So we're trying, it's our goal to put, at least 100 million, right? To figure out how do we get these sites developed, get them primed for development, but also attract and retain Black-owned companies to have those high-class amenities in our neighborhoods. Yeah. You know, Buckeye should look like MLK, Malcolm X Avenue in Harlem.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, Lee Harbor should look like U Street in DC, right? But keep the cultural amenities relevant to our people. Because we got the purchasing power, right? But we don't do it in an intentional way.
And when you talk about that, I think it's important to give clarity. That doesn't mean that the person patronizing only has to look like you.
Exactly.
That's not what we're talking about.
Exactly.
What we're talking about is from a place of ownership. And by the way, you can own 51% of something and own the majority, but that don't mean you own 100%. Like you have to start thinking in terms of, do I have a great plan? and what's my investment group? What does that look like? And then how do I operate, right? Because the most important thing with any business, especially a restaurant, is how you operate it, right? And so finding the right operator. If we open at 9, you can't get there at 11:30. That just don't make sense, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's prep that goes with. It's a lot of things, and I think that one of the things that we can do is, you know, start from a place of having these conferences where business owners to be can actually come and be educated on what it actually takes to own a business and how to run it.
Yeah.
Like that's where it should really start.
Yeah.
From an education perspective.
That's great. That's great.
Okay, last 2 questions. This is a very popular question for Rich Paul. Are there any internship opportunities? And if so, how do people connect to those opportunities?
So our intern program is a specific time, and that's around our draft prep. It's kind of 2 times. We have draft prep around the NFL, which is, the NFL draft is in April. So I would say from the time the national championship ends in January, from January to April, that's more of the football. And then basketball is more from April to mid-April to probably, where do we go, like July, like right around Summer League. So, but it's a specific thing. It's not like we have interns, although we should, but it's hard because the cost of living in LA is pretty high. But
Time to move your headquarters, man. Back to Cleveland.
But you know what? We do need a presence here, but we have Aaron Nichols here. He's holding it down. And Kelton Crenshaw's here holding it down. But we have an office in Atlanta, and we have an office in New York. So you can decide what office you want to work out of. But for our business is hands-on. It's a hands-on type of thing. That's why with the Rich Paul rule, it didn't really work for me, because there's no book that can tell you how to do this business.
Right.
That was just a discouragement thing, by the way. So, but yeah, and then you just info@klutchgroup.com, and it's or if you know somebody, but it's, you know, we have, I don't know, maybe Georgia would know, but we probably have 2,000 intern inquiries, because it's a fun place to work at. Like, it's not like, despite whatever title you have, our culture is great. So young people come and they want to work there, and it's fun. They learn a lot. They see a lot, and they're involved with the athletes. And so it's a really cool experience. And I wish I could do it for 1,000 people, but it's just tough, because the one part about our internship program or time is information. And some of the most important information you are privy to, and it's a very slippery slope. So we are very peculiar about who we bring on as interns, for that reason more than anything.
Final question for Mayor Bibb. How do you envision Cleveland and this conference 5 years from now?
That we kick Afrotech's ass. That Cleveland is competing with Atlanta, DC, Austin, LA, New York for black tech talent. And that we make this a city you want to move to, not move from. That's the dream.
I agree with that. Me too. And stay. Can we help Cleveland State get a football team?
What'd you say?
We need to help Cleveland State get a football team. It's a big deal.
That's actually not a bad idea.
That's a big deal, I'm telling you.
I'll add it to the list.
It matters.
Yo, let's give Rich Paul another round of applause.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.